Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined, as always, by Don Pizzette. Don, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Excited to see that more and more people are dumping their money into Bitcoin because the world's going crazy.
And the other one, Dogecoin? Is that how you say it?
Dogecoin.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
The meme cryptocurrency that is like skyrocketed in price.
Nothing beats Coinye. That was the best one.
Coinye.
Yeah.
That is great.
And that's Daniel Lowry there. Daniel, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm sitting over here contemplating the various and sundry ways in which potatoes are disturbingly used, and there you go. That's what's happening in my head.
You know what's great in podcasts? Inside jokes.
Yeah, they are wonderful.
Inside jokes are fantastic. And we're joined by Shane Hassert. Shane, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Shane is the Director of Assessment Operations at CyberGRX, where, of course, the GRX stands for... I have no idea.
Global Risk Exchange.
So you spelled exchange wrong. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, we'll have to talk about that with the marketing team there. But thanks so much for joining us. You said you're out in Colorado, right?
I am. Yep. Our company is based out of Colorado.
God's country.
It is.
Lovely place out there. And but yeah, I saw that you spent some time over was it Philly as well?
I did. I spent
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I spent 7 years running a third-party risk management program for a mortgage insurance company. So I would commute out to Philadelphia 2 weeks a month.
Was that in like 2008 or so? Because there was a lot of risk around mortgages then.
Actually, they're one of the few mortgage insurance companies that made it through that.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, we will, of course, credit that to you. But let's get to know you a little bit more in our first segment, Rapid Fire Questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Shane. In this segment, we are going to pepper you with rapid-fire questions. You'll have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you. Just like that, and then we'll move on to the next one. So our first question today is coming at you from Peter.
All right, so we kind of mentioned that CyberGRX is in that risk management space, but can you kind of give us a quick overview of the company for those that are unfamiliar with it?
Sure, absolutely. We are a 5-year-old company, and we actually have an exchange where you fill out one assessment and it can be distributed to multiple different customers. So we're one of the first organizations to actually put together a functional type of an exchange. We have multiple different levels of assessments depending on the level of risk with the third-party organization, whether it be a critical provider or just something from a procurement that needs to be looked at in a quick form or fashion. What I do is I lead a team of security professionals, and we perform validation on some of those assessments, giving a customer a level of assurance that what they've said they do, they can actually prove they do because someone has seen evidence of them doing it.
All right. Now, I know when we talk about assessments like these, this is not, you run an automated tool that scans your network and it turns out a report. This is the result of tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours of work people do to put together all the information about what their company and organization is doing to control risk. And I know one challenge that many companies have is how rapidly their environment changes. So we might put a ton of effort into creating a great assessment, say at the beginning of the year, and then within a month or two, within 4 months, an app changes and all of a sudden that assessment is out of date. So how do you guys handle that? How do you help people not have to redo the whole assessment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've got, like I said, we've got the security professionals on our team. We go through, and the way we're doing assessments is at the enterprise level. So we want to make sure that they're doing that level of security hygiene that they should be doing, system hardening, background screenings, things of that nature. We don't get down into the specific application and the specific services, because those, as you mentioned, do change so much from one service and one provider to another.
That's really cool stuff. I mean, to do risk management, I know how it's extremely difficult. And what makes me interested about you, Shane, is that I see you spent some time in the Air Force. I know a lot of cybersecurity professionals learn their trade in the military. Is that the same here with you? Did a lot of the skills you picked up in the Air Force transition over to your regular civilian life?
Yeah, that's absolutely what happened. I spent 9 years as an intelligence analyst and communications analyst. My last 3 years, we were doing counter drug interdiction down in South America. And I found out that, exploitation of systems and data and getting into those systems was, a very transferable skill. And that's kind of what I brought over with me to the civilian world. And it's a good thing because we've got such a shortage, now with cybersecurity professionals who have the years of experience. I've got 30 years of IT security experience and 15 of it dedicated specifically to third-party risk.
Yeah, it seems to be a great way for people to get into this career field if they're looking to. But so I'm curious. We talk about different cybersecurity risks all the time, and I feel like third-party cybersecurity risk management is not something we talk about on a weekly basis. Does that get the level of attention that it deserves? Do you think from security professionals and CISOs, or I have a feeling it's maybe getting a little bit more attention now after some recent news articles?
Yeah, I think when the OCC came out in 2013 with their bulletin OCC 2013-29 and forced financial institutions that they had to provide a risk-based framework on their third parties, then financial institutions and non-banking financials really got into this space. I think healthcare has always really been there, but what really surprised me when I joined CyberGRX was how many companies that don't have to do it from a regulatory standpoint do it because it's the right thing to do. And like you said, with the news stories and with the continual third-party breaches, this is the kind of thing that keeps CISOs awake at night.
And so apparently they'll give anyone a podcast these days. After all the training and certification we went through to get ours, you have one as well, the Cyber Info Exchange. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So our CISO and myself, he's got about 15 or 20 years of security experience, and I've got 30. We have our marketing team asked us if we would put together a podcast, and I think some of the things that were most popular last year were third-party risk, customization versus standardization when you're creating a program, the current shortage of security professionals that are in the market, and how mentoring and diversity can help fill those gaps. We did one on kill chain analysis because we do a lot of kill chain work and we do a lot of red team, blue team practice efforts with our assessment. We've got a lot of analytics and a lot of metrics. And I think we're going to be revamping it this year to do something just a little bit different, something a little bit shorter with more actionable type content.
Daniel has a kill chain in his garage. I think that's something else, though. Just what he nicknames it. That's weird. You should listen to his version and see what that's all about. Well, let's talk a little bit more about TPCRM, which is an acronym I recently learned yesterday, which is, what was it, third-party cybersecurity risk management. Is that correct?
Third-party cyber risk management. Yep.
Cyber. Okay. Yeah. I was close. I made it longer. So let's look at that a little bit more in our next segment. What grinds my gears?
You know what really grinds my gears? This Lindsay Lohan. You know what really grinds my gears? You, America.
We now go to Peter for You Know What Really Grinds My Gears.
All right, Shane. So let's talk about what keeps you up at night in terms of TPCRM. Is it how most companies are handling it or not handling it?
It's actually kind of funny because a lot of the smaller companies really have no idea where to even start. They've got some professionals or some people who have drawn the short end of the straw and now have to do their third-party risk management. But the best thing that I think that you can really do is start somewhere. Grab a standard, whether it be NIST, whether it be the cybersecurity framework or ISO. Grab one of those standards and start looking at how you fit to it, and then trying to hold your third parties to align to it as well. Ours is specifically third-party cyber risk management because we kind of stay further away from the physical and environmental security and really focus on some of that, like I mentioned, cyber hygiene practices. A couple of the things that have really come to light and that a couple of us have put together some more in-depth studies on is SolarWinds. What seems like a reasonably benign type of a organization could cause so many problems when somebody got access to their package creator. And, just some of those cyber hygiene items that they didn't do well, or, having a weak password, not using two-factor authentication, potentially somebody clicked on an email and that's how somebody got in a back door, installing an app from an unsecure site. Another one is Excellion. This is one that's come to light recently, and I think we've had about 7 or 8 or 9 breaches that I've been notified on it because of this file transfer application. The large file transfer application that Excellion hosts is coming to end of life. It's almost 20 years old, and this is a third party that I think has done most of the right things. They were giving out free licenses to upgrade to their new, more secure pathway, but organizations didn't take the time or didn't make the effort to make that happen. And so they stayed on this older application that knew had some holes in it that's coming to end of life. And this is kind of the result of what happens with that is, breaches happen because you're not staying with the most current and the most secure applications. And then just finally, being an auditor or an assessor, what I always try to promote people to do is audit early and audit often. Don't wait until December 15th if you've got something due by December 31st. We've got 12 months to work with. And I've always liked, from the auditing aspect, I'm not coming in there to find something wrong. I always approached it as, our company is giving you a security professional. The more you share with me, the more I can hopefully help you secure your environment. And that's kind of the way, we approach it at CyberGRX as well. You give us the data, we'll tell you what's validated and what we can and can't validate. And hopefully we can help you make your cybersecurity environment better.
I'm always curious, if you're in an enterprise, they've got resources, they've got auditors, they know they need to be checking for things, and they may choose to do it or not do it, but at least the knowledge is there. But if there's a small business out there, maybe they have 10 employees, they're probably not thinking about auditing their third-party supply chain. There's a huge amount of trust there. So how do you, or what advice would you give to a small company? Like which of their third parties should they be looking at if they don't have the resources to look at all of them?
The most critical third parties, the organizations that you're sharing data with, that you have to protect yourself, you want to make sure that those third parties are protecting that data to at least the same level that you are. If they're not, maybe you should be using a different third party, or maybe you shouldn't be using a third party at all.
But if I'm doing a bad job, it's okay. It's okay for them to do a bad job because it's Daniel, you said this before, right? The weakest link in your security
is always Don Pizzette, right?
Right. But that basically establishes what your level of security is.
It's exactly right. Like if you spent thousands of dollars on site security, guards, guns, gates, and then you make a backdoor with no lock on it, you've effectively spent your money on very poorly, right? Because that security weakness is the security.
Cool. Yep.
And I think I sensed another thing that grinds your gears in there is that people waiting too late in the year so you don't get a Christmas vacation. So how long does one of these audits normally take?
They can take, so the ones where the organization is just kind of filling out an assessment, those are done in 5 days, 10 days. We're looking at 300 to 500 questions about your general organization. The more critical ones, though, we're looking at 100 to 120 days because you've got about 1,000 questions or so, and you've got 50 controls that I'm asking for evidence for, that I want to see that evidence to say, yeah, they do have these 50 items in place. You should have some confidence in the rest of their questions.
All right, I definitely want to get a copy of the 3-question one.
I was going to say, are those the questionnaires you're always complaining about having to fill out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Well, and the nice thing about this being an exchange is once you've filled it out, we've got organizations now who are upstream sharing. They're basically taking the questionnaire and saying, no, I'm not filling out your questionnaire. You're all asking the same questions. Take this CyberGRX assessment, look at it first, and then if you've got questions after, we can talk about the deltas.
There you go, saving you time. And so if people want to find out more about this, what's the website to go to?
cybergrx.com.
God, that's easy. That's so easy. And the podcast, where do we find that? Is that linked from the website as well?
We've got that linked on our website as well. You bet.
And I know that recently you were on some webinars as well that are archived. Can you tell us a little bit about what those were?
Yeah, we've so our CISO and myself, we've done several webinars for Dark Reading, for Compliance Week, some of their events. Some of the other things that we've got going on with CyberGRX is, we've got a new framework mapper. So organizations who have what they consider their custom framework, or they've got, the NIST cybersecurity framework, we can map those items out to our question set to help organizations understand where the gaps might be. There's no real silver bullet in third-party risk management. But if we can help organizations have smarter conversations with their third parties and make better decisions with their third parties, that's really where we want to get them to go.
Makes sense.
And I've had a minute to think about it, so I think I know the 3-question questionnaire, which would be something like this. First name, last name, do you wish to remain in business? and based on your answer, there might be more questions. But
what is your Bitcoin wallet? Yeah. Well, actually, if you could just send us over that like 150 question one. I know that's how Don likes to spend his weekends.
He just can't get enough of them.
So.
Especially if they're in French. That's a good one, too.
Has that happened?
Yes.
Oh, oui. All right. Well, thank you so much, Shane, for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, and stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick break, come back with the news right after this on TechNado with Don Pizzette.
This is Kevin. He's studying online for a Microsoft certification and using another online IT training service. He's also on his second pot of coffee today to stay awake. And this is Kyle. He's also studying Microsoft but using IT Pro TV. Rather than watching a boring voiceover PowerPoint, he's actually enjoying the training with 2 hosts in an interactive format. Both Kevin and Kyle have access to virtual labs and practice tests, but Kyle can also get help through a live chat with other IT Pro TV members and his instructors, as well as post to a Q&A forum. He can even search for exactly what he's looking for in the interactive video transcripts, all while paying less than Kevin. Oh, and Kyle can also watch in comfort via Roku app. Kevin and Kyle are both learning IT, but Kyle is enjoying the journey. Want to be more like Kyle? View the plans to start your IT Pro TV membership today.
All right, welcome back to TechNado with Don Pizzette, or as it said in France, TechNado with Don Pizzette.
Le Technado.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Wait, no, you told me not to say the for TechNado.
Technado.
Oh, that's right.
Why would I say that in French?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
doesn't work that way.
Grammar.
All right, thank you so much to Shane from CyberGRX for joining us and learning all about third-party risk. Did not know about that, so I'm deleting all my apps right now.
I'm just concerned about the blind spot that they have, which is fourth-party risk.
Well, I'm going to reach out to all the apps I have on my phone. Like, hey, Tinder, can you fill out this questionnaire for me, please? Just want to make sure that I'm good.
You spell grinder weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how they say it in France.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our news this week. We've got a lot of news to get to, as well as a WTF. It seems like the last few weeks we've had a What Grinds My Gears and a WTF. There's a lot of crazy things going on,
That's
and a
our
lot of
new
people
duo.
are pissed off.
It is.
Yeah. All right, our first one comes from a blog, actually, from blog.lastpass.com. Changes to LastPass free. Great headline, but sounds like something that will impact us because we use use LastPass Enterprise.
So one thing a lot of people have learned is that having a password manager is a good thing, and there are many of them that are out there. There are paid ones like LastPass. There's Bitwarden, KeePass. There's a ton of them that are out there, and they all have their pros and cons. But the whole point is they give you a secure place to store your usernames and passwords, so you don't have to worry about them getting compromised. Well, LastPass is probably the most popular password manager that's out there because they have been around. They've been in the business for quite some time, and they market the hell out of their product, right? So, we use it. People are a little upset right now because LastPass has changed the service of their free tier. So you can sign up for a LastPass account right now for free, and people are kind of forgetting how it used to be. So LastPass is actually kind of returning to what they used to be. So in the beginning, like when I first started with LastPass, they had where you could use it on your computer for free, But if you wanted to use it on your cell phone or on your tablet, on any mobile operating system, you had to go to a paid account. Now, a paid account was like $25 a year, so it's not twisting your arm. But they changed a little bit over time and made it where anybody could sign up for a free account on any platform. And then you just had to pay extra if you wanted to have more than one person attached to the account.
That's just for sharing, like if you were in an enterprise space. Okay.
And so now they've shifted again, and they've realized that, they probably weren't making a lot of money that way. And so they wanted to go back to where, people paid for the service. And what they found, though, is that there are a lot of people out there today that don't have a traditional computer anymore. They just use their cell phone or they just use their tablet. And so now they've gone into a model where you can still use LastPass for free, but if you use it on your desktop, you'll now be locked into desktop mode, and your desktops will be free, but your mobile devices won't. Or if you use it on your mobile devices will be free and your desktops won't. So if you want both, you've got to pay. So it's kind of going back to the old model. In my opinion, it's not a big deal. A lot of people are making a hubbub over it, but LastPass is pretty darn inexpensive, and a password manager is super important. So, take advantage of it.
So I logged into my LastPass because I have a personal LastPass, and I got a pop-up from them, and it was saying, hey, we're changing some things as of, I think, March 16th or something to that effect. And if you sign up early, if you go ahead and grab that pay for model, you get 25% off. So I was like, well, that's actually pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of you provide a service, I pay you money, and that is the exchange, and not this like behind the scenes, well, we're kind of collecting all this stuff and selling it and making a bunch of money. Now, they're probably still going to do that anyway, but I wish it would go back to, like you were talking about, that traditional, I pay for a service, you give me the service, and that's the end of our exchange.
Yeah. I'll give you the depressing side of why I started using LastPass, which was, I'm a tech person, and so a huge part of my identity is online. And if I were to die tomorrow, hit by a bus or whatever, how would my wife access the various accounts that I use? How would people properly shut it down, get my information out of there, and so on? So we set up LastPass, just personally, my wife and I, to make sure that we had access to each other's stuff if one of us were to die. Well, in an enterprise, it's kind of the same way, except I guess you'd be firing an employee or whatever. You want to control that data.
Yeah, if you fire, kill an employee, whatever.
Yeah, it can happen. So
yeah, and so that reminds me, I need to go in and make sure all my personal stuff is, because I realized I think I set it up wrong originally, and so if I'm fired tomorrow, I will not be able to get into Farmers Only, JDate, all the
our time.
It's the dating site
for farmers,
for country.
Hey,
yes,
everybody needs a.
It's pretty clear in the URL there,
except like only what.
No, you can't trust the URL because Plenty of Fish does not have a lot of fish on there.
That's true.
I should set up a website called Plenty of Fish with a PH.
There you go. No, I will say Plenty of Fish.
Click on this, download that. Yeah, that's good right there. Yep.
Plenty of Fish has plenty of catfish. Yeah. I'll tell you that right off the bat. But
you
know what grinds my gears about LastPass is that every time I use the same password, it has this pop-up. You've used this password on every single site, and I'm like, there's no way to turn that off.
Before we started filming, I was talking to our production staff, like Courtney and Ian, about whether or not your password is secure, your email is secure, because he said, or Ian did, that he thinks that he had a breach. And I said, we can go to have I been pwned, and check that. He's like, oh, really? And he started checking his passwords. It's like pwned. Oh, that's not good. He's like, oh, crap.
Yep. So, I don't want this to be an advertisement for LastPass or anything, but, use a password manager. There's a ton of them that are out there. There's free ones. KeePass is free. I think Bitwarden is. Bitwarden you pay for.
I mean, aren't there's the things built into
Keeper,
your phone, with Keychain, and I mean, it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, but it's hard to find one of those that synchronizes across all your devices.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
I think Keeper is a pretty popular one at this point, like some good functionality, pretty inexpensive.
Doesn't Google have one too? I mean, or is that in Chrome?
So in Chrome they have one.
But if you're using Chrome if you're logged in on mobile, you'd still get that, but not in an app.
But if you need to use a login in an app, it doesn't carry over. Yep.
All right. Well, good advice. Get a password manager.
Yeah, Firefox has a built-in one as well, I think.
Because they all run Chrome now, right? It's just
Firefox isn't.
And we'll talk about Braves in just a little bit.
Oh yeah.
All right, our next article is from ArsTechnica.com. The world's second most popular desktop operating system isn't Mac OS anymore. Chrome OS's rise in market share has been swift and decisive. So it now goes. If we look at the pie chart here, we have 80.5% Windows, 10.8% Chrome OS, and 7.5% Mac OS. So that, I mean, they didn't just pass them. They kind of blew by in there. And then 1.2% other. So, God, all of Linux is represented in just 1.2%, even when you think about all the cloud, infrastructure running there.
That's not even just Linux, though. You're going to have Unix, BSD, all the various custom operating systems that IoT devices run. They're all lumped into that 1.2%.
This wouldn't count like mobile operating systems?
Oh, it would.
That would really? And that,
like Android and iOS?
This is all operating systems.
I'm surprised with the number of handheld devices and stuff these days that you don't see like Android on here.
Oh, actually, it does qualify that these are popular desktop operating
does it really?
systems. So,
Okay, well,
so
there
it's
you
not
go.
going to include Android and
I'm
iOS.
no longer surprised.
There we go.
I'm
Let's
no
clarify
longer
that.
surprised.
Yep. So, interesting thing is a lot of people, due to Apple's portrayal on television and their success in cell phones, they automatically assume that Macs are wildly popular as far as desktops and laptops, and they really aren't.
That's great marketing right there.
That's exactly what Apple's great at. And I'm not saying they're bad devices; they're great devices. They're really expensive.
But they really make you think that everybody has one.
Yeah. But if you're at a school, you can't afford to just buy a bunch of crazy Macs, or in an enterprise, you can't do that. So you end up going with other options. And Microsoft Windows is normally what that is, 80% of the market share right there in Windows. But Chrome OS has really made some strides, and a big part of this is the pandemic. You've got a lot of students who are doing school from home that don't have computers. But now all of a sudden they need a webcam and a microphone and all that, and a Chromebook is an easy, snap-in way to just drop in that for $100. You can be all set up with what you need for school. But also a lot of schools are using Chromebooks just in school. The one laptop per child kind of thing, where Chromebooks are a great fit for that. So
they can assign them to students just like you would a textbook in the old days.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
I mean, to your point, Don, my daughter, 12 years old, asked for a MacBook from Santa, and sure enough, Santa brought a Chrome.
Santa got that Santa
Chromebook.
money.
So, the elves don't make that's a name brand. Chrome OS, that's from Santa.
Now, here's the interesting thing. This might actually be a misleading kind of idea that Chrome OS is the most popular. What might be popular is the idea that Chromebooks are super cheap, and when you need to jump into having multiple devices that you didn't before, you're probably going to get a Chromebook which has Chrome OS on it. So it kind of inflates the idea. I don't know about popular, like, oh, man, I just want to get that Chrome OS. I love it so much. It's
prevalence
amazing.
maybe would be a better word.
Prevalence might be a better word than popularity, I think.
if there was a survey where you asked people, what's your favorite operating system?
Right.
I don't think 1 out of 10 people would say Chrome OS.
I don't either.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, so what was the Microsoft one that we talked about a couple weeks ago that was a new potential competitor for Chrome OS?
1010 or whatever.
10X. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if in that case this would fall under Windows, or it would under. Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
they
not gonna
lump
break
those
it out.
together. Yeah.
So that's
And
all
I mean,
versions.
this I'm certain includes Windows 7, which is no longer supported, but is still on something like 20% of
Yeah, if
machines.
you took Windows 7 out of here,
Do a quick Shodan search and be like, oh, there's 250,000 Windows 7 machines right here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Windows 1010 pie slice here would be
I
0.000.
don't think they say 1010. I think it's 10X.
Whatever. I say 1010.
We do what we want here in TechNado, Dodd.
It's a free country.
Yes,
You're
we do.
just a part of it.
It's Windows double block.
That's how they say it in France. Dos Equis.
Dos Equis.
Dos Equis.
Yeah. Windows Dos Equis.
I don't always use Windows, but when I do, it's Windows Dos Equis.
It's
Windows
stripped
Dos
down, limited features.
And get you hammered drunk.
Most interesting operating system.
Yeah. I don't know why it's got a spigot on the side.
All right, our next article is from InfoQ.com. Amazon announces new bare metal EC2 instances. Well, that's the kind of thing that just gets Don excited.
Well, I'll tell you, normally Amazon launches new bare metal instances all the time. As we don't usually report on it. They're not all that commonly used, and so I don't usually care. But in this case, they had something really interesting that I wanted to mention here on the show, which is these are using Amazon's elastic fiber adapters. And that means that each of these bare metal instances can do 100 gigabit of bandwidth, which is insane. So if you've got like some kind of high bandwidth requirement, like a file server, if you're setting up some kind of centralized repository and you don't want to do shared tenancy, these guys are amazing. And so you can identify them. They are pre-existing. There were already M5 instances, M5D, R5, R5Ds. Now, if you see one that has an N stuck on the end, so an M5N, M5DN, R5N, or R5DN. The N stands for network, and those are ones that are going to have 100 gigabit of bandwidth available to them, which is just amazing.
Now, Don, that's screaming fast, right? That's
is.
no joke. That's some lightning fast demon speed right there, which who can't get behind that? I like how they were talking about how it's basically like NVMe SSD type of speeds over the network. That's awesome. But they also said something about noisy neighbors and how this kind of like reduces that. What's the idea behind a noisy neighbor? I'm not cloud prolific, so
Sure. So when you buy a switch, like a network, if you just go and buy a 48 port switch, for example, switches normally have a backplane on them that may not be big enough for every port to be able to talk at the same time. And so you have blocking switches and non-blocking switches. And so a non-blocking switch is one where every port can go full bandwidth and the switch handles it just fine. The backplane is bigger than the ports. Gotcha. Well, in a cloud service where you're reselling access to a network, they typically do oversubscription, right? So there's more people. So if you have all these neighbors that are all churning out 100 gigabit and then you try and churn out 100 gigabit, you start bumping into them and you don't get that full
I'll tell you what, that oversubscription selling business makes me want to start a couch fire.
I mean, it's worked for airlines for years.
Oh my goodness, is it annoying?
I remember at the University of Florida when, not a technology thing, but when they were running out of parking spaces,
they oversold.
Their solution was to reduce the amount of parking spaces. And they figured if they oversold them enough, people would get annoyed at paying and not finding a spot that they would start riding their bike.
That is some super logic right there, especially when I live, 12 miles away.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you got, those of you out there that don't live in, really in the Southeast, it gets like monkey butt hot outside during the, 7 months of the year. That's the last thing you want to do is jump on a bike and ride more than 5 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. What you need is
you have the sweaty, like the backpack straps.
Yeah.
See, what you need is elastic fiber adapters.
Yes, this has solved the world's problems right there.
So if your data is on bare metal at like AWS, are you technically not on the cloud anymore because you've got a dedicated
sort of? So you
like
lose a lot
hosting?
of the benefits of being in the cloud. A lot of the automatic backups, a lot of the automatic redundancies are gone when you run on bare metal. So you're now responsible for it. So you would need to spin up more than one of these instances. Don't get me wrong, this stuff is expensive and high maintenance, but that's the trade-off you make for going bare metal.
All right. Well, good to know. Our next article comes to us from ArsTechnica.com. New malware found on 30,000 Macs has security pros stumped. With no payload, analysts are struggling to learn what this mature malware does. That's nice. They called it mature. I saw the name of this in another article. It was like some kind of bird.
Silver sparrow.
Silver sparrow. Yeah. So I mean, this was from a few days ago. 30,000. Has that number continued to go up, or
the number was higher at that time? It was they had detected 30,000 instances, but those were only ones that were Macs running Malwarebytes. So most Macs are not running Malwarebytes. The number is likely probably an order of magnitude higher. It's probably closer to 300,000, if not higher than that.
I'm running Malwarebytes on my Mac here.
Are you?
Well, good
I
job.
am, actually.
Oh,
look at you.
Is that bad?
Proud of you.
Oh no, I thought.
mean,
Oh, okay.
no,
I thought you meant
Malwarebytes
that
is a
they've
good
detected.
thing, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the virus came through Malwarebytes or something. I'm like, oh crap.
He's like,
I'm in.
So Malwarebytes is a company, and working
so
with
they're
another
what's catching
researcher,
it.
they found this and they can catch it. Yeah, so you don't have it.
Oh,
And
thank God.
Apple is already in the process, or actually, they at this point they've already pushed out an update to try and block this. But it was interesting for a few different reasons. One reason is this malware, not only was it designed to run on x86 Macs, but it has a native binary for running on M1 Macs as well. It's been updated for the newest processor. So these hackers have already updated their software.
This ain't your granddaddy's malware, ladies and gentlemen.
Meanwhile, all your line of business applications are still in 64-bit emulation
They're
mode.
looking to the future.
So I thought that was really interesting. It is something that you kind of have to, you really have to install it yourself. You have to be tricked into installing it. So it's not like a worm
Because that's
spreading.
hard.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like I do have it down.
Oh, I just clicked the button. Yeah, if it gives you a security prompt, don't just click your way through that. Yes, everything.
So Apple's canned response is, of course, well, if you just install apps from the Apple App Store, you'll be fine. But most of the apps that we run are not in the Apple App Store, so that doesn't help. But you got to be wary of that. Now, the security pros are stumped part, I think, is a little not true.
Well, it's just because it's I don't know about stumped. I mean, that's kind of a clickbaity title,
Yeah.
but it's more the idea of like it doesn't really do anything other than like they can see some functionality, but it's not doing any of that functionality. Or if you try to run it, it just says, it gives you a hello world prompt and hey, you did it kind of things.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's in the preliminary stages of, hey, can we actually make something out of this? Can we get these things to work? Obviously some sophistication behind this because they're already looking toward running these things on the next wave of processors that are coming out
Yeah.
with MacBooks. So they're just in the staging work and they've already kind of caught them. It looks like.
That's weird though, because like, why would you tip your hand to say that?
I'm sure
okay,
they
we
do
just
it
want to see that we can
purposefully.
get on there, and now we're going to start doing this. But you've tipped your hand that this is how we get in, and people can, figure it out and figure out how to shut it down.
So what's going on is the machines are infected, and the malware is just sitting there, and it's phoning home to a command and control server. Is it
It's like
C2?
it's like
C2?
a
What do you
sleeper
do?
cell.
Yeah.
It's a sleeper cell.
Or
Kind of, yeah.
CNC.
So,
yeah.
so it's checking in with a CNC or whatever the hell it's called, CNC Music Factory.
Yeah.
And so it's checking in with the
Things
CNC Music
that
Factory.
make you go,
And it's just checking in and saying, hey, do you have any instructions? And the command and control server is saying, no, not yet. Right? And so it's waiting. And that's what has people stumped. They
Right.
don't know what it's going to do. Now, a lot of times if you're doing a distributed denial of service attack, you wait until you hit critical mass. So maybe they've set a limit that says, I'm going to wait until 1 million Macs check in.
Yeah.
And when they check in, then I'm going to give them the instructions. So that's probably what's going on here. That's the most likely scenario.
It's like the Kingsman. It's waiting to give that kill
Apparently,
command.
I've got to see this movie. You're the second
Wait,
person
you've
this
not
week.
seen Kingsman?
I just haven't got around to it.
I just watched it about 6 months ago.
Was it
It's
good?
really funny, especially the princess at the
Yeah. Oh
end.
God. I rewound to be like, did I hear that right?
Okay, I guess I know what I'm doing tonight.
I heard that right. No, it's great because it's an action movie, but it's funny. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I like that.
And Elton John is just a great action hero.
Yeah.
Okay. Elton John.
Yep. He's in part 2 as well.
Yeah.
There's a part two. To this
There's
thing?
a part
I
two.
have
There's a
missed
part
the
3
bus
coming
on
out.
that Kingsman.
There's a part 3 coming
Yeah, the
out.
Mandalorian's in part 2.
Yeah, I have seen the Mandalorian.
What's his
I'm caught up
name?
on that.
Manuel. No.
Sure.
What-
No,
the guy who plays the Mandalorian.
Pena, Pablo Pena. or
Well,
something
you don't
like
know
that.
because he
I
never
can't
takes his
remember.
helmet off.
Anyhow.
Yeah, this is the way.
Baby Yoda is in.
Grogu.
I didn't know that.
That's his name, Grogu.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
spoiler alert.
Oh,
Great.
way to
Thanks.
ruin it.
Jerk. All right. We were mentioning browsers before, and we have some news from ZDNet.com. Brave browser leaks Onion addresses in DNS traffic. DNS leak leaves footprints in DNS server logs for a Brave user's Tor traffic. So the whole point of using the Tor network is not giving your info out and being private, and you're using Brave because you value your privacy.
You know, so DNS has been kind of the Achilles heel of a number of technologies. VPN tunnels were leaking communication via DNS lookups for a while. You had the same thing with Tor in the early days. All that's been kind of resolved. Now we have DNS over HTTPS and other security technologies that are being put in place to protect from that. What happened here was actually a misconfiguration. So the Brave browser has a anti-tracker kind of plug-in that's built into the browser. So when you go to a site, it tries to block tracking bugs and stuff like that. Well, the way it does it is anytime your browser reaches out to a site, it reaches out to a DNS server to see if it can get a valid response back for that domain before connecting to it. And so when it did that, it was doing it for Onion addresses as well as regular addresses. So technically, it was leaking everything that you did out to a DNS server, at least what server you connected to. Not the data you were sending. Like
Right.
if you were typing stuff, that wasn't getting sent over. Just the fact that you connected to a server.
Right,
But
just the DNS queries, right?
Yeah.
But saying which server could tell you what site you were at, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be doing it could not be as bad as all that because if you're using a good DNS service like Cloudflare or whatever that is trying to keep those things and not storing that information, if that's what you're configured to use, then that's what it would have been using.
Yep.
So that could have scared you by, but it's still not on Tor. It's still leaking all that Tor information out, and that was a bad.
Yeah,
bad
and
move.
so let's say you're in a place with an oppressive government or
Right.
whatever, and you were trying to access Parler or Mastodon or some kind of anonymous
Mastodon.
communication. They would be able to see that you did that and track your IP back, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to see what you sent over the Onion network, but they would be able to see that you did connect to that server, which honestly is enough to get you thrown in jail in many countries.
Yep. Can we use the G word on? on the Technado?
Which
Gulag.
G-word? Oh, the-
I was waiting to hear what. It's like, what is the G word?
What is the
You know,
G-word?
Hogan's Heroes is a bit of a problem for me because we watched it as a show
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
kid,
we
and you
did.
want to reference it, but you're like, I don't think you can reference it anymore. It's yeah.
Get a strike on YouTube.
So we're at six strikes.
We're at 6 strikes.
Yeah, I don't know how we're not out. No, if asking for a friend, if you wanted to like delete that history somehow, can I just delete that?
Asking for a friend.
somehow?
No, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
So, but Brave, they actually patched this really fast, and they had heard about it and worked up a patch really quick, and they were waiting to distribute it.
Right.
The person who initially discovered it did responsible disclosure, and so they were going through that process. But in the meantime, someone else in parallel managed to discover it as well, and they just went public with it.
That's
And
true.
So that's why Brave had
Irresponsible
to
disclosure.
rush it.
And you know what I picked up from this after reading this article? I was like, you can look at this one of two ways. You can say, Brave dropped the ball. Boo hoo hoo. You guys suck at security. Or you're thinking, these people are very security minded, right? Their whole purpose in life was to try to create a browser that gave you some privacy back in your digital world, in your digital online life. And they missed something. Security is flipping hard, right? It is a difficult thing to do. And even when people are super focused on it, you can miss something. And good on them. They owned up to it. They were like, yep, we missed this. Our bad. Here's a patch. We're going to try our best not to do that again. And so I kind of took that away from it.
that's true.
Security is hard.
Yeah, if this had been Chrome,
screw them.
they would have gone. Yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that, and you can deal with it. So, all right, good to hear. So our next article. Is this a WTF?
It is.
Yeah. It is.
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
So I got to play that intro, the loudest, longest intro. Please turn down your speakers in your car. I think we have it turned down in our ear, so it's not even as loud here as it is for those of you at home. You can turn it back up now. This next article is from TheVerge.com. This laptop has 7 times the average number of screens. And we're not saying screen space, we're saying actual screens, because this thing unfolds, and it looks like the dinosaur that attacked Newman in Jurassic Park that just like fans out at the
I'm going to
face.
say like a Transformer. It looks like something out of Transformers.
Parasaurolophus?
Wow, really?
Is that the one with the neck thing?
Yeah.
That's what this looks like, essentially.
there
It's
we
the
go.
computer version of that. But
I might have the wrong dinosaur.
I don't know.
what did we say? 7 screens? 1,
7
2,
screens,
3.
yeah. So the main screen is a 17.3-inch 4K display, which is massive. There's 3 other screens that are the same size, so 3 17-inch screens, or 4 total 17-inch screens, and they fold out like origami. They just unfold.
It looks pretty incredible, actually.
And then on top of that, there are a number of very small screens that are like 4.5 inches or whatever that kind of pop out in various places.
I'm going to need one of these done. I'm just here to tell you.
Well, the reason they built it, so they said, is that it's designed to be like a security operations center. So if you're doing incident response and the crap has hit the fan,
Yes,
then
as it does.
you break out this machine and you've got 7 monitors.
At
where
least your clients will be like wicked impressed when you pull this thing out.
there is that. They'll be impressed for a little while. Did you read about the battery life?
Oh, I'm sure it's like 12 minutes. Yeah. You cannot be on battery with this thing.
This thing has to be like a proof of concept, right? Because there's like a in the picture. There's like a cable plugged into itself, hanging out the side, and
So it is a prototype.
Okay.
They are planning on building it and selling it, and there have been other companies that have done this. That had ones that folded out. I know I saw some at CES a few years ago, and I've never seen one actually make it to market. So a lot of people have had this idea, and actually in the Verge article they mentioned one that Razer did, where it was just 3 screens that you'd open your
Just
laptop
3.
and then 2 screens would fold out.
Stupid.
I know you can buy laptop screens that will attach to your current laptop.
Yeah.
And plugs in USB-C. I actually looked them because it would be nice for when we're doing shows. You can have your one screen over here that would have all your notes and everything instead of having paper printed and things of that nature.
Asus makes ones that they're really thin and they're powered and run right off your
it's
USB port.
great.
we had one of those on that 12 Days of IT giveaway.
Oh,
that
did we really?
It didn't attach, but it had a little flip.
no,
flip
these
stand.
like attach. You can fold. You can like fold it up, make it slim.
Yeah,
and
and like you said,
everything.
just powered off the laptop. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Roll it
I'm
up,
down
stick it in
with
your
this,
pocket.
man.
So I'm having trouble. I know we're saying 7 screens. Is that a screen on the keyboard?
You know what?
Or am I not?
No,
am
that's
I missing.
you mean like? Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think it actually does have
Yeah,
a screen
it's
on the
a touch
keyboard.
screen. on.
Do you
That's a little
see? Oh yeah, you
touchscreen
see it
on
in the top
like
picture.
where
Yep.
you rest your hands to
on
type.
the palm rest.
Yeah, on the palm rest area.
That is crazy. Well,
Nate would love this thing.
I think calling this a laptop is kind of ridiculous.
That
like
sits on your lap, bro.
you, like people are going to be like, "Well, I crushed my legs today."
Plus, these third-degree burns hurt.
The battery life is only about an hour, and then that's what the screen's dimmed. But they do have a backup battery that you can use because they said people might travel. But the backup battery is so large it exceeds the
weight limit for
It's a car battery, basically.
what is it? Who's the travel FTC?
FAA?
FAA. The FAA has a limit on lithium batteries that you can only take such a
yeah, that's right.
I love the idea of the guy sitting next to you on the plane pulling this out. Sir, I need to go to the bathroom. Is there any way you can put down your 7 screen so I can scooch by?
Listen, son, I got some spread work to do here.
Yeah, you got to put all those filters on there though. That like
They
make it
said
so
you
people
probably
can't
have to
see.
buy like all 3 seats on the plane.
Yes, exactly.
The room for it.
Well, the other cool benefit of this is it will sterilize you in 15 minutes
that's
if
good
you
to know.
if you do use it as a laptop. So
Yeah.
that's a nice function. But you
It's a prophylactic of some sort.
you can check this out. Expanscape. What is it? Aurora
Also,
7.
no
Hang on,
prototype.
let me
We'll
check.
look at you.
Their site has been down every time I've tried to go to it. I suspect it's still down.
for pre-orders. You think?
Yeah, well,
I'm trying to pick one up.
I
man.
think they're a fledgling company, and so they just aren't designed to handle the load they're getting hit by right now.
This is like the Gillette of laptops.
we have.
You like 2 monitors? What about 7? And there's a
Yeah.
comfort strip at the bottom. It'll soothe your hands as
Yeah.
you type. I like it.
You can subscribe; they'll send you 2 new screens every month.
Yeah. It'll have burn cream on the bottom for where the battery touches your legs.
Yeah, well, dollar
add-on
monitor
products.
club
Yeah.
will be added. All right, well that one's fun. Hey, speaking of fun, we got something fun coming up. The game show Who Wants to Be a Project Manager is taking place very soon. It's on Friday,
Don't everybody get up at once.
Yeah.
February 20. Yeah, you can continue listening to this. It's not till tomorrow if you're listening on the day this comes out. But February 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. All you got to do is head over to the IT Pro TV on-air page. Free account gets you in, and you can watch and play along. I think Zach and Ronnie both try their hands and see if they can answer project management related questions in like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire style and find out. The prize is just a job. You just get to be a project manager. You have to manage a project. So.
You're like, why aren't they doing any work?
Yeah, so check that out. And also, we've got a webinar coming up. It may have happened by the time you are watching this, but it is Pick a Side, Red Team versus Blue Team, with Daniel representing Red Team and Adam Gordon is representing Blue Team. They're going to look at how you can explore the choices in a cybersecurity career and how to figure out what training you need to go down those routes. How much of it overlaps, do you think, Daniel?
I would say quite a bit, actually.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people, we were talking earlier about how a lot of people come from the military into cybersecurity. A lot of people come from the blue team side of cybersecurity into the red team side as far as what I've seen in my experience. So,
Gotcha. Well, that's taking place Thursday, February 25th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So hit pause on this if you're listening right when it comes out and go check that out. Otherwise, it will be archived, so you can see it at itpro.tv/webinars. Should be up the next day for you to check out there. And finally, while you're on the internet, head over to go.itpro.tv/technado. Get a coupon code for 30% off your personal membership for the lifetime of your account. You can also request a team trial, see the Pro Portal and all the cool features available to teams of 2 to 1,000. And if you're 1,001, we'll probably let you in there as well, just for more money. That's at go.itpro.tv/technado. All right, I think we covered everything. Nice work, gentlemen.
It's
all in a
tough,
day. Yeah,
but we find a way.
that's right.
All right, so my takeaways from today is delete my Brave browser.
No, it's updated. It's good.
Just
update
It's
it.
already updated.
Yeah.
Change my history
Yeah.
if I can, which I can't do, and get on the waiting list for one of these 7-screen laptops. We'll do
Did they
that.
say how much that was running, by the way?
They did not, but the ones I've seen in the past had a customizable, like you pick how many screens you want.
Yeah.
And when I went to like 7 screens, it ended up being about $120,000.
What?
So, yeah.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa, that's what I like to call cost prohibitive.
It's a target market, I
For
think.
me.
And your electric bill also cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Unless the back of them are also solar panels. or
Nah,
something.
see, what I do is I run that orange cable to my neighbor's house. Good to go.
Smart. Just watch the
Oh,
little
man.
wheel spin on that meter. You can set up a fan on that. And
I always know when the bill comes in because that guy's screaming at the top of his lungs.
makes sense.
That's a joke, by the way, everybody. I don't steal electricity.
On a regular basis.
But other things you steal. Speaking of the Kingsman, is that on your Plex server, Don?
I'm sure it is, and for the record, I have quite an extensive DVD collection.
Officer.
Officer.
Your
That is
Honor.
a lovely hat you have there, by the way. And you fill out that uniform nicely.
Daniel, you can watch The Kingsman from Don's Plex, and I cannot because I've still not been given access. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on TechNado with Don Pezet.